Hello and welcome to TechDrs, the podcast where we examine the latest technology news from a deeply engineering-centric perspective. I'm Mike Ali, who along with fellow tech doctorate Greg Martin and our MBA buddy Rob Haywood, thank you for joining our discussion. We will work hard to separate facts from opinion and hype from reality. We hope that you'll find our podcast informative and fun. So let's get started. This week we're talking about why CEOs like the idea of using AI to replace coders, the apparent disconnect between Microsoft's and IBM's respective CEOs on whether and how AI will replace talent, and how the hype cycle model plays into all of the above. Okay, welcome to Tech Doctors, where we have lots of interesting topics, but I got to talk about this comment. Greg sent me a comment about we were going back and forth about generative AI as usual, and Greg made some comment around how can we be the same age and you be 86? And that immediately made me think of this. I was like, when it comes to generative AI, I'm the curmudgeon, and Greg is like the irrational exuberance. And actually, the analogy goes further because when I think of generative AI, I think of the two pieces of it. It's like it's got a piece that's like a house, which is perfectly reasonable and logical and rational. Then there's the balloon piece, which is pure fantasy. And so I was like, this analogy just fits.
Do you need to set this up and tell people what exactly this is?
I just did.
No, where is it from? Give them the credits.
Oh, right. It's from the movie Up, where the movie was about an old man who decided to take his house on a journey, and he picked up a passenger along the way. Highly recommended Pixar movie. But
One of
anyway,
the more sobering ones they've made.
yes, I agree. So, Greg, you want to start? We want to start with vibe coding.
Okay, so I was not recommending that we have a discussion on vibe coding.
Oh,
What I was doing was showing you, Mike, that a group of well-educated, probably highly successful entrepreneurs, I'm in the Stanford sort of entrepreneur club. Um, we're having uh, a gathering to discuss essentially how to build your own tech and cut out the exact words were the tech headache. Um,
Is the
so I
tech
wasn't
headache
necessarily,
funding?
excuse me.
Is, is the tech headache funding?
No, I think it's a lot more than that. I think it's getting this team on that is kind of, I've been in startups, right? And what the tech team is doing is they're saying, we got to do this right. We can't get away with not architecting this. We're going to have to. And the CEO is saying, I have a meeting with my funding committee on Thursday. I need to show them this DATGUM feature. And I don't care about architecture today. You can talk about architecture tomorrow. And by the way, come check with me first, because I'm not sure if we're going to have budget for architecture tomorrow. But if I get this feature working, then I got a chance to get budget. So the tension between I need something now and you don't understand what it really takes to do these things is on fire in the startups I've been exposed to, except for mine. But they are tired of being told what they can't do. And now they are becoming aware of new possibilities. Mike, be careful with that word, possibilities. Soak that into your brain before you respond. New possibilities that may enable them to specify their own code and get something useful back. At a minimum, this is exposing them to order of magnitude different time frames in terms of expectations of what you can get in terms of software. So what I was really trying to say was not vibe coding is going to replace all coders. What I was saying was that look at these funded entrepreneurs desperately trying to avoid talking to people that keep telling them how long it's going to take to build an N-tier architecture. They're sick of it. And they're the ones with the money, and therefore they're going to win that battle until their code stops working, which I think is where you're going, Mike. So go ahead. Go ahead, Eric.
I don't, you articulated almost all my points so well that I don't even need to speak. You argued my point perfectly. No, I will, yeah, I'll absolutely chime in. When I worked on software projects, we used to have an expression that if you don't have time to do it right, when do you have time to do it over? So I understand the time
Oh,
pressure and the need to
I
deliver.
like that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
but that was just what we learned the hard way though. It was like you rush to get something done, and inevitably it's not right, and then you got to do it over. And where did that time come from? And it seems like there's always time to do it over when stuff don't work. So what I am, and I continue to be worried, right, is that people are looking at this stuff and going, there's the holy grail. Finally, I can avoid talking to those dadgum engineers. They're a pain in the neck, right? And I can just cut them right out of the chain of command and get my work done. And I'm like, this is another AI hype. And I thought it was really interesting. The guy who sort of coined this phrase vibe coding. And I understand you're saying it's not just vibe coding, it's bigger than that. But even the guy who
I'm just
said,
talking about the change in
yeah, yeah,
expectation.
yeah, I know. And but
That's
but
all.
the people that say this stuff, right? And you can see it, right? This guy, these are the people that actually this one guy, Andre Karpathy, who coined this phrase, right? He said, look, it works, for some throwaway projects. It's quite amusing. And it mostly works, right? And other people have said, hey, if you want to do this way, you better be able to test that code because it's likely to be wrong, right? And
You
so
can
again, you
have
can't,
ChatGPT
unfortunately, the
build
software engineers are still in the loop.
you can have ChatGPT build you a test harness.
So some people are using ChatGPT to build the test harness for the code they wrote. Other people are building the test harness for the code ChatGPT wrote.
And
So
some people are doing both with
yeah,
ChatGPT.
and that's where I think this would start to break down though, because I think what everything I'm reading says you can't trust the code just coming out of Chat GPT. So you can't necessarily check you're asking the checker to check the checker, right? You're to check the coder. It's the fox guard the hen house. So it'll say, "Oh yeah, my code's fine," and you don't know that.
So I have two responses. I'll just stick with one. The you keep talking about the architect. And you and I know really great architects. You really chose well with yours. And I emulated that model. I understand what a great architect looks like, learning from you, and I built those teams in my teams, or that guy sometimes, but sometimes it's more than one.
Hmm.
Um, I acknowledge the need for an architect, and what the architect gives you is an understanding of the structure of your environment, and absolutely understands what's needed and where your scale issues are and all that important stuff from a business perspective. But they also know what good code looks like. And so you used to require an architect, a senior developer, several junior developers per tier. I got several people working on the front end, I got several people working on the middle tier, and I got several people working on the back end because those are all different languages, different tools, different platforms. Well, maybe not different platform,
Hmm.
potentially different platform. And so I think that an chat GPT to write code is not a vibe coder. They're given very specific direction.
Hmm.
And the more specific you are in the direction you give ChatGPT, the better code you get back. So the site that I showed you guys is written 100% by ChatGPT. Does it always compile perfectly when I cut and paste it? No. So you know what you do? And this goes back to vibe coding, which is what the guy said. He says, I just kind of take the error, paste it into the window, and it goes, oh yeah, I screwed up. Thanks for pointing it out. And this is how it talks. Thanks for making that point clear. And it'll explain where its logic was wrong, really basically saying you didn't tell me about this. And the code gets better and it works. It works. So I probably am not too many putts away from an architect in terms of my knowledge about systems. And therefore, I'm able to really be specific when I talk to ChatGPT, and I get excellent code back.
Yeah,
so,
this is the thing.
So the startup CEO used to have to listen to 10 people tell me it's not a sea change that they now have to listen to one.
So, yeah, but that one has to understand the magic, and is literally magic of prompt engineering, right? This is the other thing that worries me. This idea that, if you just ask ChatGPT the right thing the right way, the right answer will come out.
Well,
right?
This is very similar to code the way we've been doing it all along.
No, hang on.
Human beings are writing code. You get better code when you write perfect specs. No one has ever figured out how to write perfect specs, and that's why we invented Agile.
No, that's not prompt engineering.
We're going to get closer and closer to what we understand by letting our users actually use the code. They're going to tell us what's wrong with it, and we're going to fix those things because we know we don't get it right the first time.
That's not prompt engineering. Prompt engineering.
I'm not using prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is a fancy name for using, the English language in a way that takes into account how those systems kind of quote unquote
Exactly.
But I don't use that. What I do is I tell it exactly what I want my code to do. Write me a simulation program for a two-link robot arm that can give certain results to free users, but if you want to tweak the control parameters, I want that to only be available to subscribers. Please figure out my security model for me so I can separate those two, and then make sure I can use those hooks on the front end and back end to have different features for different classes of users. And
when you get the wrong answer after giving it that, then
I got the right answer when I gave it that.
Well, that's not normal, right? Like I said, everybody who does this, Greg, and maybe you're the exception, because everyone else is saying you got to check the answer when you're done, right? And sometimes it's smart enough to know it has a bug and you can feed it back the bug, but you're saying, oh, no, I can give it this spec and it'll give me the answer back. Perfect.
I'm not saying I don't have to check it. That's not the point.
Right,
what does that have to do with anything? We always have to check. We have to do quality assurance.
My point is that when you say check, I'm talking about when you don't get the right answer back, though, this prompt engineering mindset clicks in, which is like, well, I didn't phrase it right. I have to give it a better spec, like you said, the quote unquote perfect spec, which, like you said, no one has. But one advantage human beings do have that work together, right? We do learn from each other, and we do learn to talk in shorthand.
And my agent learns from me. It gets better every time. It remembers every piece of code we've ever talked about. It knows that I prefer React directly than using all these frameworks. So it won't give me solutions that we could just use Tailwinds for this little piece right here.
Yeah, that's not the same as saying it gets you the same answer. I know that it'll recognize your language choices, but I'm just saying that.
Gave that as an example.
I understand, but that's not the example I was after. I'm after the example of what I keep hearing about is people saying, well, okay, you keep prompting ChatGPT, right? As it gets closer and closer to giving the answer you want. I'm like, well, okay. The other thing is that
those people are doing something way more complicated than what I'm doing. In terms of the code I get back, it's fine the first time. I showed it to you guys last time.
I know, I believe, but like I said, your experience is different than everyone else's who's doing this, Greg. I read about people who are doing this, and they all say, don't trust that code. It's not perfect every time. Now you're telling me it is.
Nobody's code is perfect.
No, you just said, no, wait, no, you just said this code is perfect every time. That was
I said what I said. What I said was there's no the first answer because of the way I describe what I want, I don't have to iterate on prompt engineering. That's what I said. The first code I get back meets my needs. Is it perfect code? Well, depends on how big the program is.
Right.
I have had perfect code come back for several of the things I've asked it to do
That's what it
because it's
sounds
done
like.
things a million times.
It sounds like you're not doing much changing to the code. Have you had to learn to test the code? Have you actually seen it do things where you have to learn to test it, where you don't just trust it, or you say, no, 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 I can generally trust it. I just run it and bang, it works.
No,
That's
I
what it
test
sounds
the
like
hell
to
out of it.
me.
I tested the code that I got from humans.
Right. So you test the code from ChatGPT. That's just
Of
natural.
course,
All right. And
of
when you
course.
do, you're saying it generally works right. You don't find a problem.
I have found problems. There are certain modules that worked perfectly out of the box first
Okay.
time.
But what about ones that don't? You're saying you've also found ones that don't
The
work.
ones that don't, my first instinct is, hey man, what the hell does this error message mean?
Hmm.
Because it can go through what I used to have to do. I used to have to go through that damn, what was the name of that website?
Whatever the Java
You
error thing is,
no
where
no 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 no. I'm talking about before ChatGPT, we had a community where we would go and we would search for someone asking the same
oh,
problem we had.
stack, stack,
Huh?
stack,
Stack.
stack
What is it?
exchange.
Stack?
One of
I
those. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
that
that
dude.
website. Yeah.
I man, it was a nightmare.
Hmm.
You think you found it, it's like, oh, that's right, they're talking about a Microsoft platform. You know, I spent hours on there trying to debug my own code.
Hmm.
Now chat writes the code
Hmm.
and it goes and finds very quickly all the different people that have worked on this problem, comes back with extremely specific guidance. And I'm talking about, for me, it's complex stuff. Have you worked with React? Have you done any programming with React?
No.
React deals with state.
Hmm.
There's this, well, I won't go into details,
Oh,
but
well, let's come back to your other point though about these CEOs who are now going to some get this what they magically have always wanted. I think though that everybody's still saying that ChatGPT has to be run. If you want ChatGPT to generate code, it's not some non-techie person, right? And unfortunately, that's where the vibe coding thing is. Oh, anyone. Oh man, God, you can write an application in a day and never have written a lick of code in your life. I'm like, yeah, sure. Good luck with that. You're talking about something more realistic, but
well,
there's
the point I was making with that was the desire. The
yeah,
desire on the part of these entrepreneurs to get past you and I.
yeah. Well,
It's
they still have
real.
it, and that's fine. They've had that desire for decades, and
And
unfortunately,
they still had 20 people on the team, and I'm saying now they can get away with just one.
they're still going to need that one though. I agree. Look, productivity. I'm not going to fight with not disagree with productivity, right? It's
Well,
just like
when we
saying
talk,
there are CEOs that ran manufacturing firms. They were like, how do I get rid of some of these knucklehead workers, right? They're coming in high, they don't pass drug tests, right? They sneak around for take lunch breaks too long. Oh, I got something for you. It's called a robot. Well, of course, CEO says, yeah, give me 50 of those, right? And along the way, he has to bring along the people that know how to program the robot and stuff. He's still not just being able to just go straight to from his brain straight to output. But that said, yeah, everybody wants productivity and they can take those pesky people out.
but what we talked about, so you brought up an example that reminds me of the way I started this podcast was telling you guys a story about workflow and imaging for the new business process at an insurance company and how I replaced 24 entry-level employees with six highly paid uh, programmers that plus a few analysts
Mhm.
that rendered the business case not quite as ideal as we thought it was when we were thinking about eliminating 23 jobs. So you're right. But what I'm saying about ChatGPT that's different this time around is it's an order of magnitude change in it's a two order of magnitude change in expectation, but it's an order of magnitude change in the actual productivity improvement that you're getting. And that makes a big, big difference.
Yeah, I don't think it's an order of magnitude. Mr. Haywood, Mr. we have another CEO. What say you on the opportunity to get rid of those pesky
Not a
engineers?
normal CEO. This guy has a patent
You know, the
tech patent.
first my first response is an improvement in productivity is always welcome and embraced. And I look at this in terms of what that ROI is. Um, you you don't necessarily have to replace workers as an indicator of success and value add, you have to, I think, exceed, establish KPIs for ROI.
Bingo. Well
Other
said, Rob.
and other resource investments,
Yep.
whether it's capital or human or time or
Yes.
whatever else.
Yes.
So I think the ruler is, what's the ROI? Does it exceed expectations? And can it put you on a trajectory where you can continue to build, continue to add value, continue to enhance the ROI of the organization, of your company, and your P&L and bottom line?
I'd say that's well said. I think the question of whether or not you're going to get an order of magnitude improvement, since you're talking about KPIs, is interesting because the other thing that we sort of were looking at from the headlines was we got one headline from Microsoft where Nadella was talking to Mark Zuckerberg and said that 20 to 30% of the code inside the company's repositories was written by AI, right? Hallelujah. Oh my God, 30%. On the other side, the IBM CEO says AI has replaced hundreds of workers, but meaning on the HR side, but created new programming, sales jobs.
Yep.
So it's interesting that you got two companies, right, that both have a vested interest in replacing programmers. IBM will absolutely replace programs in a heartbeat, but one company saying, nope, we haven't got there yet. But yeah, we were able to take out these freaking HR people. And the other guy saying, oh yeah, we're already at 30% code repository at this point.
I put them on a continuum, at the top of which will be the current tech bro companies, which are tech from inception, as opposed to IBM, which used to sell mainframe. That was technology, but it wasn't. These I shouldn't say tech from inception. They were cloud and internet enabled from inception, and also mobile enabled from inception. Whereas IBM was not, and neither was Microsoft. But Microsoft was like the first kid on the block of new technology. To me, Microsoft is the new IBM. And so if Microsoft can do 30% with their stodgy stovepipe environment, whereas IBM is still hiring programmers because they haven't really figured it out, I would expect, if you were to ask any of the tech, get that off the screen, of the tech giants, what that number is for them, I bet it'd be higher than 30%.
Apps, there you go. And there's the little kid saying, look, the future has arrived. I read these two articles and two headlines, and you interpreted it as that's the curmudgeons ain't getting it, and the young tech bros got it. And I'm just the opposite. I'm like, yep, the standard IBM is stepping into this thing and watching carefully what's going on, and they're not exaggerating the outcomes and everything else like the tech bros have a vested interest in doing, right? Because Nadella certainly has a
They're
vested,
just as interested in selling as everybody else. They just don't
but
have
he's
enough
also
money,
interested in his
and they're
stock
not as good
price.
at it.
Yeah, but he's interested in his stock price. Look,
And I'm more than
nobody's
just
going to throw
speculating.
heat
I
at
met their
IBM because
head
AI.
guy.
First of all,
Did you
IBM
read
already
that
stood up.
part?
Remember, IBM went nuts on AI before this neural network stuff. Remember they had,
I met the guy that did it.
yeah, okay, well that's nice, but they blew
Back
it.
when they called it Watson.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was right. It was Watson, and they went heavy into it. Okay, Watson is going to do medical diagnosis and everything else, and it blew them up. So they have no credibility. I Microsoft
You're
wants to
making
be.
my
Yeah,
point.
I'm making
That
your
proves
point.
that they're
I don't
not
know.
great at
I'm
it.
saying it's hype. They, of course, I'm
You
saying
just said they don't do hype because
the
they're
dollar
stodgy
does
old
do
guys.
hype. The dollar does do hype. IBM would do hype in this case if they could, but they
That's
can't.
what I'm saying.
Oh, no. You're saying that the tech bros get it. They're actually leveraging this technology and learning how to get that kind of productivity. And
And
I'm
you're
saying,
mad because their hype goes beyond what they can do. And I'm just saying they
yeah,
can do more than Microsoft can do with it because Microsoft is still trying to run Exchange. Microsoft, I bet, of the 30% that's not done by AI, 50% of that is still DOS. That's the funniest thing we've said so far. Mark the tape.
Half the audience won't get it. All right, they're too young to get the joke.
DOS loaded with a floppy.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. Somewhere in the data center at IBM, there's a PC with two floppies in it,
I
two floppy drives.
I still have a PC with DOS 6.0, and I love the DOS 6.0. I thought it was great.
I agree.
Yeah,
And
good
there's
for
my
you, Mark.
Tandy 200 laptop.
You
No,
use that as a
Tandy 102.
paperweight, Mike?
Tandy 102. Oh no, no, no. Are you kidding? This baby works. It absolutely. I use it. I use it for word processing. Um, so right. I think
should
that's
have bought a Mac. That's all I have to say about that.
I'm on a Mac. That's what I work on. I do both. I live in both worlds. I have a Mac. I'm all in on the Mac ecosystem. So okay, well, I think we're gonna see where this goes. I think that AI is gonna. It's not. I don't see it as an order of magnitude. I think it's a good tool. I wouldn't write code right now without using ChatGPT. I don't write code without. I use ChatGPT automatically if I'm coding anything these days, right?
Why is that?
Because it does just like Greg said. It
It's
actually
it's a search engine, as you would put
no, no,
it.
no. I actually crank code with it. I'll say I need a routine that does use ggplot. It's something in a language called R that we use for stats. And I'll go, and ggplot is the way you get output, and it's a pain in the neck. The syntax is just I've never understood it. So I'll say I want to give me a ggplot that'll take X versus Y with these axes and this data, and it spits out the ggplot code for me. I
Who needs to remember all that syntax in their mind?
right, exactly.
It drive me crazy, all the
Yeah,
stuff you have
but
to have
it is
at your fingertips to be able to code. And
it's
you
a
don't need that
tool.
anymore.
Yeah, I see AI integrating as a tool that will be used by all of us. The worry I've got is that when they realize that there's not that much money to be made, the open AIs and those guys right now, we're getting this stuff for free. It's awesome, right? Because their valuations are going through the roof. Investors are giving them scad loads of money. I think they are managing, they have some paid versions that people are paying for, but they're all losing money, right? They're losing money, aren't they all? They're all like losing billions of dollars every month. And I just worry that when the gravy train ends, they're going to go, oh, sorry, sorry, we got to shut down. And we've gotten used to using these tools just the way I said, right? I said I love using Chat GPT. I use it all the time.
You don't pay, I pay.
No, I don't pay. Have you started
That's
using
the
them?
difference. You'll end up paying because you see the value. And that's how they get out of the hole.
Yeah, I don't. I think the hole is bigger than what people are willing to pay. And that could be
When
another
they
conversation.
get the leeches out of the system and people start to see the true value add,
But
then
Greg, shouldn't you be using that too?
that fosters the continuance of the technology, right?
Well, as
That's
long
how it
as
works.
if there's just a few leeches, they can still operate. That's the key, is to be one of the last
No,
leeches.
no. There. I loaned my username and password out to my friends in Atlanta. One of them was in school. She went on there and did her homework. I see all of her prompts. Now she's trying to figure out how to get girls in STEM. And she's working with ChatGPT. I just saw that prompt today, and I'm like, what is
But
she doing
Greg,
with
why don't
STEM?
you go with one of the coding tools like Claude, the new Claude Coder or whatever it's called? Why don't you go
What?
with something that's very
It's just convenient for me to have everything in one
What are
place.
you really trying to learn by loaning your ID and password out
That's my
on
sister,
Chat
by the way.
GPT?
It's my sister, Rob. Be careful.
Oh, I was about to say that's evil.
Yeah, go ahead. Ask it anything you want. Ooh, what did she ask? Yeah, no, it's not like that.
What are they doing these
Yeah,
days?
yeah. Uh, what were we getting ready to talk about, though?
that was it. I think we were just. I think
Mike thinks it's going to go away.
no. I think it's going to become integrated as part of a tool set. I don't think it's going to be this massive shockwave through the system. Millions of folks losing their
I think that's
jobs.
fine because that shows that there'll be a realignment on what the expectations are. and then the true realistic KPIs and returns start to be incorporated not only into the price of these companies, but also in terms of, how they're used and, what their expectations are.
Yes, but that's the minority viewpoint. No one agrees with me, not even my fellow tech doctor.
No, I'm getting ready to show you a graph that puts your comment in context.
Okay.
Um, but no, I made my steady
Yeah.
state too low. I got to
So,
do another one. Wait,
oh,
wait.
go ahead. Yeah, so Rob, I agree. That's where I think it's going, but that is not where, everybody's, I'm telling you, the stories and everything else and the valuations of these companies is, millions of people losing their jobs replaced by, yeah, as a matter of fact, there was a guy I was talking to who's using the same thing. He used a tool to help him, and he runs a small business, and he was looking at hiring like a junior programmer. And he was doing the math. He's like, man, well, I use Claude, and he's gotten really good at knowing how much he pays Claude to solve certain problems, right? And so he said, I figure that, an intern is going to cost me 80 grand a year, and Claude is costing him, 8 grand a year. And he said, it's, hey, it's a no-brainer choice for him right now. So we'll see how much longer that goes. Now, he's had it doing some simple code refactoring and some other things that he finds very useful that he would have had to have. He would have loved to have a junior coder to do, and years ago that would have been his only choice. And now he's using Claude to do it. So
That's the kind of thing that is gonna, if that's happening today, I'm simply doing a linear projection around what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, to answer your question, why don't I use some of the more uh, specialized tools?
yeah,
And for me, it's just a simple thing of convenience. I need so many things from ChatGPT. I'm a horrible graphic artist. I don't need to do that anymore. I just go tell Sora what I want. And I got it. Now, that to me is the harder tool to use. That to me is where prompt engineering probably plays a bigger role. And I'm learning my way through how to get, especially if you want to try to get a movie. Uh, these tools are, in my mind, they're still very, very, they're like infants, you
mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a moment when we thought a spreadsheet was kind of in its infant stage, and then we started putting functions in it and making it programmable and having APIs, and the thing just blew up. And now it's the most ridiculously useful thing we've ever imagined. And I think that's what will happen here. We start
How much are you paying right now, roughly?
$20 a month.
Oh, really? Okay. And does that get you the top of the line, their top
Now,
tool?
I think it's 200 a month for the pro.
Okay.
This just makes me a subscriber, but it gives me access to the best coding models that I know that they have.
Okay.
But I think for the higher tier, I think it's more about the credits. Like, I've never tripped over in the credits where I pay extra because I ask for so much stuff. I
Okay.
only ask for probably one image a month.
Okay.
But people who are dealing with images on a daily basis are probably going through their credits really quickly. So here's what I wanted to so that's my answer. I need the fullness
Wow.
of the
Yeah.
suite,
You
I'm with
know,
and it's just
I
convenient
I
to use one.
I thought there were different layers or price segmentations on this. That's got to be one of the biggest jumps in terms of cost. Go from the plus to the pro is $200.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
You know how much money they're leaving on the table?
In the tiers in between, from a marketing perspective, yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah,
incredible. I
yeah.
mean,
Oh my
really?
God, Rob, there's regular gas and super premium. My God, we need to do premium gas. We need three levels of gas at the gas station.
No, you go, well, what you do is you go from just having one level to Sunoco, but
Right.
now you remember Sunoco?
Yes.
They had like five different levels. Now
Yeah.
that's too much. That's too
Not
much
too much.
segmentation,
Yeah, yeah, too much.
and it's hard to explain the incrementality of going from one level to the other.
Yes.
But clearly, there's an opportunity here to go from one to 10x, maybe something in between. I just think that, it's not gonna grow as fast as it can.
It could be because it's all a scam and they know there really is no differentiation, so they feel guilty.
Yeah, they're just appealing to the ego of the $200 customer. I'm a pro.
And when you look at the boxes that it checks, just in terms of sheer numbers of differentiating factors, it's like, yeah, I don't know if that's 10x. You got to at least give me a couple of page folds of listings of what
Right.
else I get.
Yeah,
Right.
well, and that's where it gets really interesting because the metrics are really get a little squirrely at points, right? So you go, oh, well, what about a nice metric? It says, the $200 gets me, 10 times faster performance, or I go from 99.9% no hallucinations to 99.99%. And the problem is they cannot get their arms around the metrics at that level. Partly because as fast as they come up with a benchmark, the stupid tools learn it and start basically gaming it. So that's one of the problems.
So back to your issue of uh hype cycle. This is what it looks like. You start off at a state. Oh, I got it upside down.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Also, you don't
Oh,
you want
wrong
to end
one.
up,
This one.
don't you
Look at
want to
this.
end up higher than where you started? Ah, there
Yeah,
you
this is the one.
yeah, there you go.
Sorry, wrong one. That's why I had to start over.
You actually end up lower than when you started.
That was just
Don't
a
hype
bad drawing.
anything. Just keep it a secret.
It was higher, but just not by enough. That's why I redrew it. But listen, you start off somewhere here,
Yeah.
then you have this hype cycle where everybody just thinks that this thing is going to solve every single problem. And
Mhm.
then what they call what we're experiencing now, starting to experience now, is the trough
The trough of disillusionment.
of disillusionment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Does it
this is
really
going,
go below where they started?
It could.
yeah, that's what it feels like. Like this stuff is crap, you know. But then they rise back up because they start realizing value and they push it to where what that tool is going to give us. And it reaches a steady state. And then you got to go to another hype cycle for some other tool or a new iteration on this tool.
Uh,
But
un,
this
un,
cycle
un,
I would think
is
that the
proven.
hype is ineffective if the trough at its lowest point is lower than where you started from. Then
I
it's
can't
no
be
longer
absolute.
hype, it's lies, and you can't differentiate a lie from a truth.
I can't defend. I can't defend the magnitude of this this chart. But what I'm talking about is directionally correct.
Yeah,
qualitatively.
I don't I
Qualitatively.
wouldn't disagree with that.
Yes, and your point, whether do you have do you have a Segway or a Theranos, or is this thing the iPhone? I mean,
Who,
So
who, so
you're
Greg,
using the
hold that
examples
up
that fall
again.
out. You're using
hold
the
up.
examples that fall out at the bottom of the trough.
Hold it up again, Greg. See, this is how a non-tech person shares the screen. but but I'm sure you guys.
I quit.
Oh yeah, it
See this
doesn't.
graph right here? There you go, Rob. It doesn't go below where you started.
Yeah, that's what I would think because the knowledge of the technology should allow you to have a better understanding of it, and at least the trough wouldn't be lower than where you started. That
So,
makes
so
sense.
that first slope is called the peak of inflated expectations. And Mike, this language is designed to make you happy.
I,
And
I used
I'm
that
I'm
language when we started Tech Doctors.
Yep. Yep.
I'm gonna guess that difference in where they start and where they end up after the trough, that disillusionment is actually a factor of actually fabrication. Because if the hype had a lot of truth in it, that trough would be much lower and the ending line would be higher, correct?
I think that if there were truth in the so-called inflated expectations, the trough would be less would be more shallow, less
Yeah,
deep,
less shallow, and the ending point of where the understanding or the
be
happiness
higher.
of the technology would be higher. Yeah.
That makes sense to me. That makes it. I would even say another way to say the same thing maybe is the higher, the more inflated the expectations are, the deeper the trough. Because it's a human reaction of just extreme disappointment. sort of at all levels, and that translates out to your funders, which are the people that we talk about the most in these discussions. Your investors, when they're disappointed, it has reverberations.
Yeah, so it just really depends on how quickly you want to manipulate the market and how quickly you want to take money off the table, either in terms of being able to reinvest capital that you get into your system or money that you put in your pocket. I'm sure there's an equation that says how quickly do you want to reap the benefits and take money off the table, or how quickly you want to put money back into the business. There's a slope associated with hype, fabrication, and truth.
I think you're right, but I think it's not as linear as you're implying. I think that relationship is very, very complicated. I think there's a point at which you can't take anything off the table, especially in the early stages. There's no money to be taken off. That
Well,
climb, that climb from the trough of disillusionment, they got a name for it. It's called the slope of enlightenment. As you reach the plateau of productivity, that climb is difficult, and you're what you're doing is you become realistic. It part of it is you understand what value you can actually get out of this investment finally, and so you
So,
got to work
so
hard to get that
I thought
return.
what Rob was getting at is sometimes what happens when you're in that peak of the hype, that's where the grifters come in, the ones who are looking to cash in at the peak of the
right,
hype.
but
You
but
have no
but
interest.
you
Yeah.
I'm
you
talking about a
you
CEO
got
trying to get value out of his investment. I'm not worried about who's taking advantage of him. I'm just talking about the journey
But
of
you got to look at
innovation.
the net benefit of what happens during that hype cycle. You get more resources coming in. People, and a lot of the times, it's not necessarily taking money off the table. It's bringing more talented people into this to contribute. More people who are willing to come in and
That's
work.
what I'm saying. You're still investing because you got to pay those people, and you still haven't gotten a single dollar back
You're
from them.
forgetting opportunity cost. That money could go to something more realistic that'd be better for everybody. Also, you get the same because of that herd instinct. Everybody's chasing the one idea over here instead of all the other really good ideas that are over here.
That you don't know about because everybody's hyping. Even those really good ideas over there are hyping. If they
No,
don't hype, nobody's going to come over to
that's where
them.
the honest people like me are working, coming up with things that don't have to go through this cycle. We're using logic and rationale.
Promised.
Head down, contributing equals no money,
That's
no
exactly you
resources.
promised to show us who it was, and I think we had to go back to the 14th century with Da Vinci as the
It was
only
the 16th
altruistic
century, just so we're clear.
16th. Thank you.
Yes.
Only altruistic engineer you could come up with who wasn't trying to hype his stuff because he needed investors and because he got to play the game.
Me and Da Vinci.
I'm sure he's doing it for the women. We don't we don't know that.
There you go.
Da
There you
Vinci got no play.
Oh,
Everybody knew that. He was a nerd. He was like,
oh,
nerds
oh,
weren't cool then.
oh. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. The replacement of the smooth, sophisticated Robs with, I'll just say, nerds. At the top of the sort of um
I I would position it a different way. The evolution of the smooth, sophisticated Robs to the tech end to exploit.
okay, so you become a tech bro. You're the worst tech bro because
I'm
you know
only here for the
exactly how to
honeys.
overhype. Yeah. You're the guy that comes in during the so now I see what you mean by taking money off the table. It's not the CEO like I want to get my early return. He's throwing money at the problem. He's throwing money and you're saying you're catching it. And you're not following back down to the you're not following back
He's
down to the
cashing out. He's
You're
cashing
just taking
out.
your money.
He just wants to go
I
from
think I've
hype
done enough
cycle to
here.
hype cycle. That's
Yes.
all he wants to do. He's
Yes.
You
just
ride
chasing
it
the
like a
hype.
wave.
And I think I know people who did that in the IT boom that Mike and I participated in.
I missed it. I was into robotics. I made the wrong call. I
No,
stuck
I'm
with
talking about our IT career.
Yeah, but well, that good point. I think
I was running into salesmen that were on IBM one day, and then they were selling me Microsoft, and then they were selling me Oracle.
yeah, right. I remember those guys. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
same guy.
Same guy. Amazing, right? They would come in and say, "Oh man, Oracle's got this nailed, man. They're the best." And then the next day, they're like, "Oh man, PeopleSoft, that's the way to go." You know,
Yes, yes,
People really went crazy about PeopleSoft. That was,
yes.
yeah. Well,
They
that's
had the
why
cool
Oracle
name, first of
bottom,
all.
then Oracle bottom, right? That's the other problem is I remember I used to try to escape. I can't stand Oracle. I don't like Larry Ellison,
Same,
this guy. And then
same.
every company I would try to go to, he'd buy him. And then I
wait
was
a
dealing
week.
with him again.
Wait a week. It'll be an Oracle business.
Exactly. I was like,
That
I
guy.
hate.
You learned how good your lawyers were by interacting with Oracle.
I tell you what, I used to have this executive search group, and I had PeopleSoft and Oracle as two different customers. PeopleSoft used to pay on time and everything else. I hated Oracle. I used to try to get my people not to work on them, but they were just so steeped in, that community, and they had so many different resources and connection that it was easier trolling and phishing. And then all of a sudden that net 20 invoice became net 60, net 90, and we used to say net never as soon as Oracle bought them. It's just like how can it's not like I'm asking for millions of dollars, but I guess they do millions of vendors like this, and it
To
becomes,
those in the know, the game is cash flow.
oh man,
That's
it used
all
to
it
be
is,
so
right?
incredible.
Because Larry Ellison wants his money right up front, and then you demand payment on 30-day terms, and you pay your vendors on 90-day terms. Guess what? You win.
Yeah.
You signed a contract with Oracle without hiring a guru who used to work for Oracle and knows exactly how they're. It's like dealing with the IRS. There's this small group of people that you're forced to deal with
I,
if you want a fair shake. And then when you do all that and you go through all that trouble and you finally write a less unfair contract with Oracle, then you run into an upgrade 6 months later, and you got to go out and hire a whole nother set of experts
Mhm.
that are good at renegotiating and all this kind of stuff. I just got sick of Oracle
My
people.
favorite
The
story
the,
whole
about those guys, they
ecosystem made
said,
me
the
sick to my stomach.
biggest lesson I learned was my business partner. He was just like, you're not going to get around how they pay, but you can speed it up. And I was like, tell me the secret. It's like find one person in accounts payable and become their friend.
yep,
There it
yep,
is.
there you go.
Because I mean, they're just told to do this, and they don't get in trouble if they just pay one
Right,
faster than the others.
right.
So
Yeah.
I would submit the bill, not wait more than 10 or 15 minutes, and say you got something from me. I could really use your help.
Mhm.
And you just I would stop taking out the people in HR and romancing the stone there to get more business. You know, I needed to get my invoices paid. So I would take the people who never got a chance to go out, and those were the accounts payable people. I would take them to lunch and, hey, grab the whole department. Grab the whole department. We go out for drinks or whatever else because it didn't matter how much business I did on this side if I wasn't getting paid, which I wasn't.
Did you have to pimp yourself out like Shep on South Park?
I wasn't gonna bring that up, but it was in my
You
mind.
know, you do what you got to do. I'm
I mean,
not proud of it.
we're literally talking about millions of dollars here. Come on.
Wow.
I'm not proud of it, but when it came time to sell, they loved that cash flow model.
All right. I think we got another successful tech doctors in the can.